Okay. Here we go. I need everybody paying attention. You'd be surprised, Ty, if you paid attention to how much easier it all is. Sophia, Raina, let's focus. So we have our practice test. Very first thing on the practice test is like the quiz you just took. You have to simplify a couple of these things. So look at that first one, and I know it's a little scary because it's got a cube in it, but don't let that frighten you. What do you think we could do with that first problem? Yes, I heard somebody say take out a sign. You can factor out a sign. So what happens when I do that? I'm going to take out a sign. What am I going to be left with?
2 signs.
Sine squared plus cosine squared. Uh-oh, bing, 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 bing. What's sine squared plus cosine squared? 1. So we just have sine times 1, which is sine. Easy. All right. Use it right now, but not then. All right. So cotangent. What's cotangent? Cosine over sine. And what's cosecant? 1 over sine. Now this is kind of a big ugly fraction, but think about it for what it is. It's cosine over sine divided by 1 over sine. And what do we do when we divide by? We flip it and multiply. So this is cosine over sine times sine over 1.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, they cancel.
The signs cancel, and our answer is just cosine. Not cosecant, cosine.
So,
Cosine.
like, could we just add, like sine over sine or cosine with it, or is that just, like, not cool?
What?
Like, okay, so, could you have had, like, this? Like that, and just have like this signs cancel out to make 1, and just leave the cosine over the just like you pointed out.
I don't know what you're saying. The answer is cosine.
Well, no, yeah, I got that. I'm saying like.
Did you get cosine doing what you did?
I don't want to get points off.
Well, as long as you're getting the right
I'm gonna be
answer,
honest.
there's more than one way to do it. Well, if you're really worried about that, do it my way then.
Okay, I got you.
Yep. I hope so. I hope so. All right, that was the first problem. All right, number 2. Solve the triangle. Now, what does that mean?
You guys,
At 1, 0, 1 or 2.
No,
yeah.
no. Solve the triangle means find all of the missing parts. See how it says over here to the side? Those are the things you need to find. So you have to look at this and decide if you're going to do the law of sines or the law of cosines. Well, how can we do sines?
50, some 50 just can. Over 60.
Okay, we can do sine 50 over 16. Absolutely. There's your pair. That's what you like to see when you do the law of sines.
Sine 68. Sine A.
Okay, wait. What's A? What's angle A?
68.
68. So we're going to find that first, right? We're going to get that taken care of. because we know the angles have to add up to 180. So we know that's 68. So now can we say sine 68 over A? Yeah. What else can we say? Sine 50 over 16 equals sine 62 over C?
Yeah.
You got to do both because you have to find all of the missing parts, A and C. So it doesn't matter which one you do first. Doesn't matter one bit. You just have to do them both. So we're going to cross multiply. So A sine 50 equals 16 sine 68. Now we're trying to get A by itself, so what are we going to have to do? Divide by sine 50. So we're going to have 16 sine 68 divided by sine 50. And that's going to be side A.
15.99.
Maybe, I don't know.
And then what's your side A?
Ooh, I got 19.37.
So would that go to 19.4? Or would you just...
If I were rounding to the nearest tenth, it
Oh,
would
but
be
it's
19.4.
Okay.
There are no directions on here.
Yeah, it
Oh,
says
rounding
nearest
nearest
hundredth.
hundredth. Okay, yep, hundredth.
Okay, I didn't put a parenthesis.
You have to.
And so that means you
Okay,
side A.
now we're gonna do the same thing. So we'll say 16 sine 62 equals C sine 50. What do we divide by?
Side 50.
Trying to get C by itself, so what do we need to divide by?
Sine 50.
Sine 50 again. So this time it's 16 sine 62, close the parentheses, divided by sine 50. I got 18.44 for that one. So in the blanks over here to the side, you're going to be real careful and make sure that you're putting 19.37 in for little a, 18.44 in for little c, and 68 in for capital A. All right, next one. We're doing exactly the same thing. We're solving a triangle, but the triangle looks a little different. Can I do the same thing I just did? Why not? There's no angles. And remember, if you're going to set up the law of sines, you have to have a pair, like you did here. In this problem, you had these two. So life was good. Here we don't have any set of information. So if I'm not going to be able to use the law of sines, I'm going to use the law of cosines. So pick an angle, doesn't matter which one you want to find. F. All right, we're going to find angle F because somebody wants to. It does not matter. Find an angle. So we decide we're going to find F. If we decide we're going to find F, then out on the end it's going to say cosine F, and on the other end it's going to say 10 squared. Because when you set up your law of cosines, whatever angle you're using, its side is over here by itself. Always squared. So that's this side right here. So what's going to go all here in the middle? 16 squared plus 12 squared. I love it. I'm hearing good stuff back there. Somebody back there knows the law of cosines. That's good. This is the one that is a little trickier to type in. Remember, you cannot just start typing 16 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 16 times 12. You can't do that because this is separate because of the cosine on the end. So I can do these two. So I can say 100 equals 16 squared plus 12 squared. That's 400 minus, and I can multiply these three, 2, 16, and 12, and 384 cosine F. Now that is okay. Those numbers can be combined. So I added these two together, and they made 400. Perfectly okay. I multiplied all of these numbers, and they made 384. Perfectly okay. Do not subtract the 400 and the 384. We have to subtract the 400 to the other side.
So then you would get 84 equals to cosine.
So you get negative 300. I'm going to subtract 400 from both sides. So negative 300 equals negative 384 cosine F. And then I'll divide the 384 over, and the negative's actually going to cancel out. And then I will type what?
F equals cosine minus 1.
Yep, inverse cosine, 300 over 384, that's right. Yep, inverse cosine, perfect. So inverse cosine, 300 divided by 384. 38.62 is angle F.
Yeah, I did E. I didn't know you were doing that.
Okay, doesn't matter, it's all gonna be the same. Alright, did everybody get that? Alright, now, let's talk about this for a second. Is F the littlest, biggest, or medium angle in the triangle? It's the smallest. How do we know?
Because it's the small side.
It's the smallest side. So what's the next smallest angle?
D.
Which
Correct.
one?
D.
D. So let's find D next. Now, if you're a law of cosines lover, could you do everything I just did for angle D? You absolutely could. But since you now have a pair, could you do the law of sines if you'd rather do the law of sines? Yes. So it's completely up to you. We're going to find angle D right now, and you can either set up your law of cosines, or you can do your law of sines. If I do the law of sines, it'll be sine 38.62 over 10 equals sine D over 12. Then what? Well, I gotta cross multiply first. I'm going to divide in a minute, but not until I cross multiply. And then I only divide by 10. And then what do I type in? Inverse sine, yep, so inverse sine, that big fraction. Alright, let's second sine 12 sine 38.62 close parentheses divided by 10.
So you get 48 points.
Oh, I got 48.50.
Point five. Cool.
Yes.
Did you finally get it, Nobby? Did you finally get it?
Well, I got 48.50.
You got 0.51.
I got 0.509.
Yeah, maybe 5-1.
Yeah. Well, I use the different.
That's right. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Now, what about my big angle? What would my big angle be? 180 minus 48.5 minus 38.62. I got 92.88. Now, let's talk about this. I think I talked about it yesterday. This problem was full of individual choices. First, right from the very beginning, somebody said, let's find angle F. We could have found any angle first, right? Any angle. But somebody said, let's find F first. Okay, so we found F first. Not Zeke. Zeke found E first. Okay? Now, to get to E, the way I did it, I had to find F, then I used that answer to find D, and then I used those two answers to find E, right? So I got to E kind of like a roundabout way. He went straight to E first, and what did you get?
92.86.
92.86. So, do you see how we're off just a tiny little bit? That's because Zeke's answer, there's no round off. He used the law of cosines, boom, 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 boom. My answer, F, is like that. But, when I found E, I had round off here and round off here. It got built into my answer, so I'm off a little bit. And that's okay. I'm not going to count that wrong, because I'm going to see your work and the steps that you did it, and I'm going to understand why we're off a little. Now, if Zeke got 42.7, then he's wrong, right? I'm talking about being off just a tiny little bit, not by whole bunches of stuff. Is it an emergency? Then leave your phone here. It's supposed to be in your backpack anyway. All right. All right, everybody clear on that right there? Okay. Now, problem 3. How many triangles are possible? These are the ones, Sophia, where the answer is 0, 1, or 2. So even if you don't know what you're doing, you could guess and have a 33% chance of getting it right. Of course, I'm not going to give you any credit if you don't have any work. So what does that work look like? Well, let's see. When you look at the triangle, we have been at this long enough. Those of you that are paying attention and not mumbling and talking and everything else, you've been at this long enough to see this is a law of sines situation. Right here. See it right there? That's the law of sines. So sine 61 over 14 equals sine C over 12. We just did some of that in that problem over there. So we'll cross multiply. And divide by 14 only. So then, yep, we're going to second sign that big fraction, 12 sine 61 over 14. Okay, we're going to second sign it. Now, remember, sometimes we don't get an answer when we do that. Let's see if we get an answer. 12 sine 61 divided by 14. I got 48.56.
Yes.
that tell me?
You have one triangle.
Well, I have at least one triangle, right? At least one. So now I have to check and see if the other one works. Now, if the other one works, its angle will be 180 minus this one. So 180 minus that one is 131.44. Now, is it possible to have a 131 and a 61 in the same triangle? No. So this triangle doesn't work. This one does. So how many triangles are possible? One. So when I grade your paper, I'll be looking for that number and that number, because that's how you tell how many triangles you have. Zeke?
You subtracted 180, you subtracted 48.56, right?
Yep. From 180, always found the same way. If there is a second triangle, the second angle will be 180 minus the first one. Okay? Now let's look at the next one. How is this one going to be set up? Same exact way. We're going to say sine 52 over 6 equals sine C over 10. Right? Well, I'm not there yet. So then I'll cross multiply. Divide by 6. And then second sign that fraction. And somebody who already did it said we get an error. 0. Yep. So what goes in the answer blank? 0. No triangles possible. Savannah?
This might be a stupid question, but I'm confused on, so once we cross multiply and then we divide, I'm getting confused on if we're just dividing by the number or we're dividing by sign and the number.
Well, did you try to divide by 6 sign? What happened?
No, I didn't try to do
Okay,
it, but
these are not separable. That's a unit. So you're only dividing by 6.
then on the front page, we divided by sign 50.
Sure, because we divided by the whole thing. But this is different because I have to get my variable by itself. This is the variable. I want my variable by itself.
Okay.
So if I have a sine 50 equals 4, I'm going to divide by sine 50. This is a unit. I can't break it up. So I'm going to divide by sine 50 because I want to get a by itself.
Okay.
But if the variable is part of the unit, then I'm only dividing by the number.
Okay.
And I really want that chat to stop so you guys can focus, okay?
I was asking him about
I know, and you can talk about it later, but,
Okay.
okay, perfect. All right, we have one more to go. One more of these to go.
The answer can only be 0, 1, and 2.
It can only be 0, 1, and 2.
What did you think was the other 15? No,
So let's see what this one is. We've had what do we have? A 1 and a 0. Let's see what this one is. All right, so here we go. Sine 68 over 19 equals sine C over 20. So cross multiply. remembering that this is not separable, so we're gonna divide by 19. And then to get C by itself, we'll have to second sign. And you're either gonna get an answer or you're not. The last time we typed this in, we got not, nothing.
I got 77.4.
All right, so let's see, let me see. He got an answer.
I did. 2. 4.
Yep, I got 2. I got 77.42. So what does that mean now? That means I have at least one. And I have to check to see if I could have another one.
You can.
Now, if I can have another one, it will be 180 minus the first one.
Yep.
So 102.58.
That works.
Can you have, is it possible to have a 68 and a 102?
Yes.
Yeah, because that only makes 170, which is okay. It's all right. So how many triangles are possible? 2. The one with the 77 and the one with the 102. All right, what's on the next page? Find the area. This is what we talked about yesterday. Find the area. So, would you look at these, how many are there? 3? Look at these 3 problems. Do any of them look like they work for Hero's formula?
No. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which one then? C. So let's do C first and refresh our memory on Hero's formula. This is problem C. The bottom one. I have all 3 sides. So therefore, I can find the perimeter. Step 1. What's the perimeter of this guy? 28. So what's the semi-perimeter? 14. And when you do Hero's formula, that's the number you use, 14. So the area is going to be a radical. I'll do it up here. And under the radical is 4 numbers. And the first one is 14. Now, who remembers how to get the other things under there? Zach?
You subtract 14 by all sides.
14 by all sides. So 14 minus 8.
6.
And you'll have a calculator, so you can do it on the calculator if you need to. 14 minus 9.
5.
And 14 minus 11.
3.
And then we just type all that in and take the square root of it. And a way to take the square root that's real quick is just raise to the 0.5 power. That will square root 1/2 is square root, so that's a quick way to do it. I got 35.50. That's the area of that triangle. Okay? Now, none of the others, the other 2 pictures, are not going to work with Hero's formula. How do I know that? Because I don't have all the sides. And the only way you can do Hero's formula is if you can find the perimeter. Okay? So, earlier today, we were using that 1/2 side sign thing for area. do any of the triangles that are left, A or B, do they look like they would work for 1/2 side sine? Which one? B. Definitely, B will work. This is problem B. Because what do you have, kids? Don't you have two sides and the angle between? So that area is 1/2, 11, 18, sine 61. There is 0 for you to do, except write it down. 1/2, side, side, sine. So 1/2 times 11 times 18 times sine 61. 86.59. Okay, why won't that work on the top triangle, the A, problem A?
The sides aren't around that.
We only have one side, right? And to do hero, you need all three, and to do this, you need two,
Yeah.
okay? So let's finish this problem, and then we'll be done.
52.
So, what did you say?
52.
This angle is 52, so Brendan said, look, 81 and 47, they gotta be 180, so it's 52. I hope he's right. Is he right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what? Light bulbs should be going off in your head. What do you have right here?
Oh.
Law of sines. That's a law of sines. So sine 52 over 6 equals what? Pick it. Doesn't matter. Sine 81 over P. We could also do sine 47 over Q. Alright, so here we go. P sine 52 equals 6 sine 81. Savannah, this right here is what I need to get rid of because I'm getting P by itself. So P is going to equal 6 sine 81 over sine 52. So I'm going to type that in. 6 sine 81, close parentheses, divided by sine 52. Did you get 7.52?
I did the wrong one again.
Doesn't matter. Did everybody get 7.52 for side P?
Yeah.
These are inseparable. They're using P by itself. Now, is 7.52 the answer to the question? No. We want the area. 1/2. 6 times 7.52 times sine what? 47. It's got to be the angle between the two sides. So, Zeke, if you found this side,
Q.
yep, that would be this side. Then you have to do 1/2, 6 times your Q answer times sine 81.
I did not do that.
Okay, well that's your mistake. Does everybody understand that if you chose to find side Q, which is perfectly fine, but then you're doing 1/2 6Q sine 81. Because you, in this formula, you must use the angle that is between the sides that you're using. So, my final answer is 0.5 times 6 times 7.52 times sine 47. I got 16.5.
Yeah.
And Zeke, if you use the right right angle, that is exactly what you should get.
There you go, you were